Okay. Great. Thank you again. Thank you everybody for being here today, and we appreciate the opportunity to speak to the people in the state of Rhode Island. I want to start off by talking about what's on everybody's mind, the Delta variant, and possible recommendations that the CDC might make later today regarding masking. Not going to get ahead of the CDC, what they may or may not say. I'm going to review their recommendation in coordination with the Rhode Island Department of Health. Again, and I've said this from day one since I've become governor, that safety is the #1 priority, and we'll make our decisions based on the overall safety and the health of the people that live in our state. But I want Rhode Islanders to know that all the individuals that have been working to keep you safe I'm constantly in contact and reviewing with, whether it's the Department of Health or anybody that's related to that group of people that have done a fantastic job for our state, both on issues that have to do with vaccination rates and testing in the state, which are both national leaders and continue to be national leaders in terms of that work. Certainly, I continue to be in contact with them on one of the key metrics, which is hospitalization rates. And while we're seeing an uptick in new cases, the overwhelming majority of new cases are those who are unvaccinated. I want to repeat that again. The people who are getting infected and are hospitalized are the individuals that have chosen not to get vaccinated. Because right now, it's not like when we first started the vaccinations where we were doing it by age and different categories. Right now, anyone who wants to get vaccinated in the state of Rhode Island can get vaccinated. So this week, 18 out of 22 people hospitalized with COVID-19 were unvaccinated. That's why it's crucial that Rhode Islanders get vaccinated. And we know the best way to protect yourself and people around you against the Delta variant is by getting vaccinated. I'm being repetitive, but the fact of the matter is the vaccinations keep us safe, they keep us out of the hospital, they protect our families, and it allows our economy to grow at a rate that is nationally recognized as one of the top states in the country in reopening our economy. So we know that the Delta variant is more aggressive than the strains of the virus we were seeing even just a few weeks ago. But fortunately, all 3 COVID-19 vaccines provide protection against the variant and help prevent you from getting seriously ill or dying because of COVID-19. According to experts, the 2 mRNA vaccines available do provide a more substantial protection. And now the time is to double down on vaccination efforts across all age groups in the state, in particular in our high school age and also our middle school age groups. And we'll be coming out with a plan to really make sure that every high school student and every middle school student in the state has the opportunity to get vaccinated. I was, anecdotally, I was in a discussion this weekend when I was down in Newport, and more to be said on that, the music in Newport, which was great to see this weekend. One of our universities let me know that 100% of their students that will be on campus or in the classroom or in the dorms rooms are vaccinated. That's the work that we need to do. So we'll continue to work on the schools and in terms of the start of the schools happening in about 4 or 5 weeks, depending on what school district you are attending, and continue to emphasize the importance of our students to get vaccinated in the state. Next, I'd like to give a little update on the RI Gives Vax Challenge. Last Friday, we announced that Rhode Island reached another 5,000 administered doses. That means 12 more local nonprofits will receive $10,000. And if you allow me, I'm just going to list them here. The African Alliance of Rhode Island, Be the Change Sunday Meal, Boys and Girls Club of Warwick, Center of Southeast Asians, The Collective, Friends of Rhode Island, CASA, Neighborhood Works, Blackstone River Valley, Rhode Island Public Health Institute, Rhode Island Communities for Addiction Recovery Efforts, the Salvation Army, Turning Around Ministries, and the Women's Refugees Care. I list them because these are the charities that have stepped up in an unbelievable way to help us get through the pandemic over the last 17 months. And to recognize them, I think that's important because of the work that's being done by not only these charities, but charities throughout the Rhode Island. And we expect to be able to honor another 30 nonprofits over the next few weeks as we continue to vaccinate the people in Rhode Island. So since we launched the programs, 22 nonprofits have received $10,000 grants. This is so important to the communities that these nonprofits serve. All these organizations have played a crucial role in our COVID response and our vaccination efforts. And I want to thank them for stepping up to help keep Rhode Islanders safe. And I want to thank our partners at the Rhode Island Foundation, again, for helping make this program a reality. And as a reminder to all the nonprofits, the application process is still open to July 30th to get your nonprofit as a considered in that selection of the next $10,000 grants. So if you haven't got your vaccine yet, now's the time. Let's get the next 5,000 vaccinations milestone as quickly as possible. Right now, we are approaching 79%, 78.6% of our adults have received at least one dose. 72% of our adults 18 and over are fully vaccinated in the state of Rhode Island. And we saw the vaccine demand increase week over week for the first time since May. And we had over 5,000 first doses in each of the last 2 weeks with 5,600 last week, which is good news. Right now, I think that based on the data I saw this morning, that there's as many as 250,000 people that still qualify to get vaccinated in the state of Rhode Island that have not get vaccinated yet. So as we look at the really high numbers, the good numbers, the 78.79%, heading to 79% and 72%, that is really a tribute to Rhode Island's response. But also we let you know there's a large group of people that could get vaccinated in the state of Rhode Island that have chosen not to get vaccinated. I'll tell you, even the Fox News, who have been like anti-vaccine in many ways, are now encouraging people to get vaccinated because they're seeing what's happening in the country. We're fortunate here in Rhode Island, but we can still do better, and we're asking people to do that. So before I wrap up, tomorrow morning I'll be ceremonially signing 2 bills into law at Youth Pride in Providence, one bill that expands housing discrimination protections for the LGBTQ plus Rhode Islanders, and another that requires single-user restrooms in public places to be non-gender specific. And tomorrow afternoon I'll be in Newport in one of our vaccination cold spots for another vaccination day of action. We'll be hosting pop-up clinics, distributing food to those in need, and encouraging people to get vaccinated. And tomorrow night, I'll be joining the team at Waterfire to mark their comeback and the release of the 2021 season schedule. As I was in the comeback congratulations to the Newport Folk Festival this weekend. Not only was I there Saturday, but also there Sunday with my family. And it was fantastic to be out listening to the music, as I was down in Westerly last night on the Tunes on the Dunes, listening to John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band, and it's really good that this activity is going. So Waterfire is just another celebration that we'll have on this in the coming weeks. On Thursday, 5:30, I'm looking forward to another Rhode Island 2030 community conversation on Facebook, where we'll be discussing small business, a topic that is very important to me, and I've been public this week about putting together a list of small business-friendly policies and an agenda for next year's budget that I present. In terms of an article, we'll be putting a number of small business initiatives into the budget to continue to support our small businesses in the state. And then also on those 2030 community conversations, I want to give a thank you to the Lieutenant Governor for co-hosting and really playing a lead role in that activity. Thank you for that, Lieutenant Governor. And with that, I'll turn over the mic to you.
Thank you. Thank you, Governor. Good afternoon. As probably you know, I celebrated my first 100 days last week on Thursday. I'm excited to say that I visited all 39 cities and towns in 98 days.
Nice job.
Thank you. And it was really good to get to travel to Rhode Island, to thank Rhode Islanders for their resilience for making sure that we're coming back strong. It was great to visit the small businesses community in different cities and towns and to hear directly from them about how they are doing coming back out of the pandemic and the steps that they're taking to make the economy stronger. Last week, I also had a very successful housing summit, and I want to thank everyone that was involved in making sure that it happened. Especially, I would like to thank my co-host, Secretary of Commerce, Stephen Pryor. We kept doing those co-hosting conversations on Facebook. It was a great conversation. And I want to give a special thanks to Roger Goddard, Mary Thomas, and Kayla Sims. They were individuals that had been affected by homelessness here in the state of Rhode Island, and they gave their testimony during the housing summit. They were very moving stories about the challenges that they went through. And as well, I would like to thank the housing advocates that were present, including Karen Santilli from Crossroad, Eileen Hayes from Amos House, Captain Eric Wallen from the Operation Stand Down, and Christina Contreras-Fox from the Rhode Island Coalition to End Homelessness. I'm looking forward to continuing the conversation in the coming months. This was one of many conversations to come. Last week, I also hosted my first in-person Rhode Island Emergency Management Advisory Council meeting. Great information was shared during this meeting, and especially seeing what's happening in other states and also in other countries and continents, especially weather-related. It's more important now than ever that we are having this meeting and making sure that we are prepared. So the council is ready, the advisory council is ready to advise the governor in any case of an emergency. I also attended the Department of Correction graduation that I was very proud to attend. They had a class of 20 correctional officers that graduated. They had a diversity of 50% in this group. They had one female, so we're hoping that for the next class we can get more females that want to join the department and see that this is a career or choice for them. After that, on Friday, the governor and I were honored to host the Madam Ambassador Sonia Guzman from the Dominican Republic envoyed to the United States. And I want to thank Senator Ana Quesada and Representative Grace Diaz for arranging that wonderful visit. It was really a good event on Friday that we had to welcome the ambassador here at the State House. Yesterday, I joined the governor, also Senator Reid, Governor McKee, Senator Reid, and Senator Whitehouse to the Kings Street Commons in Providence. We celebrated 35 new affordable housing that's been added, and 5 of those units are actually net zero. If you have not done a feature on it, I'd recommend for the media to go and take a look at it. It's incredible how they have this small units. It's more spacious than what we thought, right? When we look at it from the outside, you thought it was going to be smaller, but once you get in there, it's very spacious, and the design is beautiful. It was in collaboration with Risty that the design was done. We were very impressed.
Yes.
And I think this is another alternative for the housing crisis that we have. And the really important that is net zero. So instead of having the owners, the individuals are going to live here, instead of having to have high bills, actually they have the potential that they're going to be getting credit from the electric company. So you should take a look at it. So I want to congratulate One Neighborhood Builders, Liz, and Rhode Island Housing, and Building Futures, because the Building Future students were participated in building these houses, which at the same time helps to add more affordable housing, more housing options to the state, and at the same time we're training the workforce of the future in this new construction of net zero. So it's a win-win all around. So this was a great event. In looking ahead, we have the Equity Council meeting tomorrow. Pastor Chris is going to be hosting. Chris Abulimi, who's the Deputy Chief of Staff of the Governor, is going to be, we all call him Pastor Chris. He's going to be hosting the meeting. And there's going to be the first in-person meeting, and it will take place right here. Okay? With that, I'm just going to pass it back to the Governor.
All right. Yep. So Ian over here. I got it. I hold it.
Okay, thank you, Alana.
Service around here.
Hello, Governor. You say there are about 250,000 Rhode Islanders who are eligible but have not taken the vaccine. What does that say to you about where we are as a country, where we are as a state, given how you have to know that this is a very deadly, very dangerous illness?
Yeah, so I mentioned that because I think that the issue is still serious. The pandemic is still with us. Rhode Island is enjoying a high vaccination rate nationally. We are in the top 5 on many metrics, if not all. States that are struggling are certainly in trouble, and we don't want to be a state that is going to struggle in any way. So any hospitalization that can be avoided, any death in a family that can be avoided, we should be doing that. And so that's a reminder to people that have not been vaccinated. If they don't have a medical reason or a religious reason of some sort, they should be getting vaccinated.
But what is your explanation for why so many people, given ample publicity about the danger of COVID, have not gotten vaccinated? Why is there so much resistance for a quarter of the state's population not to do this?
Well, I think there's many factors. Clearly, we've struggled in both the Black community and the Hispanic community. The percentages that I've seen are significantly less than what that population represents in the state. So we continue to outreach there. I was meeting with the Central Falls mayor this morning about many factors, including that. So I think it's on the state to continue to provide the opportunities for people who are either in different communities that have not participated in a way that I think they should, in the way that makes sense, as far as science dictates. The state's just got to keep on stepping up, and that's why I was saying we'll be working on a organized strategy for both high school students and middle school students, getting right into the communities again. Embracing the municipal leadership and the first responders. So we're going to continue to do the work. That's why I mentioned the number. I think the number speaks for itself. I still would like to see where we're at 78%, almost 79% now of first doses in the state of adults 18 and over. Our goal was to get to 90%. I still think there's a track to make that happen, and we're gonna work every day we can, as long as the virus is a threat to our health and safety, to make that happen, and convince people if in fact they need to be convinced. I don't know. I can't really explain some people's reasoning, but some people are saying that they're waiting until they get more evidence. But I don't know what more evidence they would want in terms of the data that shows that people who are getting vaccinated are protected from going to the hospital at degrees higher than normal flu vaccinations. This is the miracle that we've had. Well, let's take advantage of it. And then in many ways, questioning why a person doesn't do something doesn't really get us as far as we need to go. We need to continue to try to understand and then convince people that it's a good thing for them, the state, and their families.
All right, we're going to go to Ed and then Anita.
Governor, would you consider mandating vaccines for state employees? Would you consider mandating masks for kids going to school in the fall? And to follow up, you mentioned there's a school with 100% of the students vaccinated. What school is that?
Yeah, I'll ask them whether I can tell you that or not, but I got that in confidence. So, but it is real. I think that those are two separate questions. As far as mandating people in the state right now, whether they state employees or not, that's not something that we plan to do. As far as the masks, we're going to wait on, I think as everybody is, waiting on the CDC guidance that should be coming out later this afternoon. And then we'll make determinations on what particular recommendations we'll make to the schools. I want to just really emphasize, too, that the state can make strong recommendations based on our authority right now in the context of the emergency, based on the General Assembly's actions. We don't really have the authority to mandate into the schools masking. We will give strong recommendations based on how we analyze the CDC guidance.
And will you do whatever the CDC recommends this afternoon?
I think that's dangerous to say, right? Because I think we haven't read it, but we have in the past taken their consideration. I would hope that they are bringing into consideration the things that we've just talked about for the last 10 minutes, which is that the state, like Rhode Island, is in a position where we're doing very well. And my meetings since Friday, over the weekend, and then into yesterday and today, relative to that issue, because we're taking this this Delta variant, very, very serious, right? We would be very irresponsible to do anything less. But the data that I'm seeing is telling us that we are in good shape. So I would hope that the CDC would take into consideration states that actually followed the guidance that was given out of the White House and out of the CDC, and recognize in states that have really done a great job that we don't pull a fire alarm. In fact, if there's no fire, and right now is all the data I've seen, we don't have a fire in the state right now.
All right, we're going to go to Patrick and then Ethan and Brian.
Governor, you said that you are not considering at this time any kind of mandate for state employees. New York City is mandating vaccination for employees and testing. California is also. Why is this something that Rhode Island is not even considering?
Well, I think that we've been very successful without the mandates. And we're also taking a close look, which I've just explained, in terms of the Delta variant and any of the COVID-related viruses, in terms of where we are in hospitalization rates, where we are in terms of, again, I'll God bless everybody, every family that has lost a loved one. We don't want to see any more of that happen. So we're keeping a close look on that. I think that if we're able to achieve what we've been able to achieve up to this date without mandates, I'm never saying never. And as I've started off at the top of my comments today and in interviews yesterday, that safety is the top priority. So if I feel as though, and our Department of Health feels as though that safety is being somehow compromised in a way that we shouldn't be taking that level of risk, there's nothing that we would take off the table. But right now, we're not considering mandates into that space.
Should Providence and other municipalities consider mandates for their workforces?
I think local decisions can be made locally, and we would certainly provide support for whatever a local community decided. I think that we have similar to the universities when they said that they were going to have vaccinations mandatory. That's something that we supported, and we'll support a community that feels as though that they need to make decisions. But I would also say, before they make decisions, we would love to be able to kind of consult with them in terms of making sure that their decisions are based on the real data that we have, and before they would make a decision that would potentially impact their local community in a way, in particular, reopening our economy. I'll repeat again, we need to know that right now, Rhode Island is a national leader in reopening our economy, and we've done it safely. And so we don't want to back off on that. And during the time frames that I've spoken off this microphone, I've talked about incremental flexibility, about making sure we take one step forward and then another step forward. But we never wanted to be in a position where we were taking 2 steps forward and 1 step backwards, unless there was a real reason to do that. I don't see that reason right now based on the data that I've seen. And I've been briefed as early as this morning on the most up-to-date information.
Governor, if the CDC recommendations come out as expected, they may have a link to whether it's transmission rates or vaccination rates. Would you be on board with that if it does have that contingent on there? And is there any part of Rhode Island that you fear would fall into a category where indoor masking should return even for people who are vaccinated, whether that's Woonsocket, which has a lower vaccination rate, or somewhere with higher transmission rates?
Well, to the earlier question, I mean, we're going to do everything we can to get people vaccinated because we know that's the ticket, right? That's the ticket to safety. We know that it's safe. We'll work with any community that feels as though, we'll work with any community that feels as though that they have a need that is over and above what we're talking about on a statewide level, and work with them on that. Right now, I'm just telling you, our data does not show a reason to pull an alarm without a fire. If it does, we're on this every single day, multiple times a day, as we have all the way through this crisis. We don't believe that the crisis is over. We don't believe the pandemic is over. And Rhode Island needs to make the right decisions. And quite frankly, it does increase the amount of anxiety that any leader would have, and the pressure that any leader would have to make a good decision. But right now, I feel very comfortable with the data we have, with our hospitalization rates, that we don't want to be in a spot where we take a step backwards, in particular on our economy. I don't know if you talk to our small business or not, but I'm still out there meeting them. Our lieutenant governor's out there meeting them. They followed all the guidelines that you could imagine. I mean, I was with a business owner that was almost brought to tears yesterday, who had to acknowledge that if there wasn't a certain amount of help that came from the state, that they would no longer be in business right now. So we're not going to take a step back unless there's a reason to do it. And right now, I don't see the reason to do it. That could change momentarily, but all I can tell you is what I know right now.
So, Dr. Philip Chan from the Health Department, who's been alongside you and these briefings for a while now, told our station last night, if you're going to be around a group of people, especially indoors, you may want to consider masking, vaccinated or not. Would you agree with that? Do you think people should consider it, whether the state brings back some kind of rule or not?
Well, I think it's a personal choice right now whether they wear masks or not. But let's talk about the protection that somebody has that's vaccinated right now, right? Well over, I think it's in the 90s, on past COVID. Right now, it's as high as 86 or 87% protected. Our job is to let people know what the data is saying. So if people personally want to wear a mask indoors, they've always had the ability to do that. And we've also recommended people who are unvaccinated that they continue to wear a mask indoors. So we've created the exception in terms of vaccinated. I don't see a reason to move off of that right now.
And just finally, on the school front, I know you want to wait to see what the CDC says. The expected guidance is that they're going to tell everybody to wear a mask, whether you're vaccinated or not. I know you've said you'll follow the CDC guidance, but leave it up to the districts. We've heard from some superintendents who want some clarity and uniformity in the state, so they're now not out on an island on their own. Have you considered any more of that? And especially if the CDC does come out and recommend that everybody wears a mask, would you go along with that?
We're going to make, a strong recommendation. The districts will decide which way they go. That's the extent of the authority that the governor has right now, based on the fact that the emergency on the COVID is scheduled to end on September 1st, which I thought was a little premature. We asked for that extension to go to the end of the year. The General Assembly, unless they come in and change that. Right now, the COVID crisis, in terms of empowering a governor to make those type of executive orders, has sunsetted.
Okay, over here with Pat.
Governor, Lieutenant Governor, first of all, thank you this morning for joining Tina Peterson on her groundbreaking program, RAMP. It deals with physical challenges and to the handicapped and how to overcome them. My first part is, I wonder if you had any reaction to that, any takeaway from that, and then a quick question about the Rhode Island Housing Emergency Relief Program. Rhode Island Housing has a wonderful website, a wonderful portal. The one area that it doesn't really focus on is how many checks are being cut, and there is a growing frustration, real or maybe, from the impacted community about actually receiving funds. I wonder if you have any status report on that or any guidance.
Yeah, I'll weigh in and let the Lieutenant Governor, who was on that call and many other calls with me. She's and getting all 39 cities and towns.
Yeah.
Sabina, that was great.
It was
So on RAMP, my recommendations are personalize it, right? People know people that have disabilities, and to make that personal, that all of a sudden, puts you in a spot where you want to be a lot more proactive. So I'm no different than anybody else, right? I've had people in my lives and people that I love that have been disabled and disabled through accident or disabled through, the fact that that's how they were born. So, so my impression is with Tina, God bless her, let her keep on pushing forward, and then it's our responsibility as leaders, both community leaders, statewide leaders, local leaders, to respond to being more inclusive. And as I've said, I think that this notion of a zero-sum game, I'm going to talk about that a little bit more next week when I do an education policy, a statement that'll be, public and all-encompassing on the state in terms of what education needs to be in the state. There's no such thing as a zero-sum game in my mind. We help a family who might need some help. It doesn't hurt a family that is somehow in better shape. Same thing with a community that is disabled. So if you're helping somebody out, helping somebody else that needs some help in that area, you're only enhancing the state of Rhode Island. You're only enhancing the community. So my impression on that is good for Tina, and keep the effort going, and we'll be responsive just as we would to any community in the state, and that community makes up many of our communities in the state. I don't know whether the Lieutenant Governor wants to weigh in on that or not.
I agree. Tina is doing a tremendous work creating awareness. She participates in every small business town hall conversation that I've been having, and she's always active in reminding everyone that we have to be aware of the challenges that individuals that have mobility issues have. And one of the things that she reminds us all the time is that all of us, this could be any of us, anyone can end up in a situation that needing a wheelchair. And she's very open about her own story, how in her case it was just going through a surgery. And after that, after 10 minutes, she was dependent on a wheelchair. And just a reminder that can happen to any one of us. So we have to be more aware of the challenges that individuals with mobility issues go through. Just to visit a business, and one of the things that we're working on is how can we create awareness with the business owners that there is a community of customers out there that want to come and visit your business, but they need to be to have access to it, make your business accessible. So I kudos to Tina for her work that she does, for sure.
Yeah. On the housing piece of it, we continue to have staff meetings, director meetings. Yesterday we got an update from Carol Ventura in terms of where we are in terms of applications. I think there was like 1,150, just short of 1,200 applications have been approved. Still at a slow process. About $7 million has been dispersed. We got a long way to go there to figure this out, and either getting some sort of intervention from our congressional leaders that have, that gives a different timetable to, to disperse these funds. And I think we need to ratchet up a little bit. I expect that the utility alone, we're working with the National Grid and with the state different departments, including Rhode Island Housing, should be looking at maybe as much as $20 million of utility relief in the next few weeks. So we're on it. It's slow, and I've been public about that, and I think that we need to really make sure that we're using all our resources to get as much money as possible again, that's our money. That's money we sent to Washington to come back here to help our state. We should be maximizing every dollar we can. Yep.
I think Bethany has a question up front. On their way. All right.
Hi, Governor. Bethany Brunel from Newport Daily News.
Yes.
I am wanting to ask you how the state is supporting Black-owned and minority businesses, and is there a list of all of the businesses within the state that's accessible?
So I think that there's been a great deal of discussion about, in particular, in terms of the state contracts, making sure that we're maintaining that 10% in the communities that the business communities are talking about. We'll be making an announcement next week of a new director of the Office of Diversity that actually the Lieutenant Governor worked in prior to becoming Lieutenant Governor. So it's a priority, just as any community is in the state, right? And I think that goes to what I was just saying about the zero-sum game. I think that some people believe that if you help, move a particular community forward, that somehow that you're holding back, your own community, your own family. So I think that it's work that needs to continue to develop, but it's a priority with me as I've made my office with Pastor Chris, right? In terms of the equity issue being a front and center issue in my office, it'll continue to be one. Thank you.
Anyone else have questions?
No, great.
We'll wrap. Oh, hold on. I'm not coming. Okay, thank you.
But if you could just clarify, are you only allowed to do a mask mandate executive order until September 1st? What's your understanding of what the current law is on that?
I'm not sure that other than a few executive orders that were protected in the legislation, I'm not sure that a COVID-related executive order is, this at least my understanding is not an option at the moment.
Including masks?
I think if it's related to COVID, at this point in time, we sunsetted the COVID emergency, any emergency right now on the watch of a governor at 180 days.
All right, and Ed. Oh, all right, I'll be back.
That's why what we got left is, at this point, and we'll use it, is the fact that we make strong recommendations based on good science as related to that particular issue.
And just to follow up on that prior question, the Black and Latino caucus in the legislature it said they were disappointed that the state had not met the 10% goal last year. That you weren't governor then, but they did ask that you do better, basically, than the state did last year. So what do you say to the Black and Latino caucus about that, the 10% threshold?
Yeah, so I felt as though that any work that was done during COVID, that you could figure out a way to make sure you get to the 10%. I don't think that should have been. I think that should have been done. But I think what you just say to every community in the state of Rhode Island, including the minority communities of the business, whatever way that's defined. I mean, I made sure that the current the disparity study that everybody was sitting on was made public. Recently, right? That unfortunately was commissioned back in 2019, 2018, and here it is 2021, and that data only brings you through 2017. So we'll be making a recommendation that the statute actually has language that requires a study every 5 years, say, or every 7 years, or every 3 years. So, but it can't be 35 years between the time that a statute's passed and then you actually do your first disparity study. And then we sat on it for too long, and I made sure that was released. And like I just said, we'll be making an announcement next week of a new director for that office that has gone through the vetting process, and we'll be starting on Monday, and we'll be making a statement at that point in time on how serious we take that issue in partnership not only with the Lieutenant Governor, but also with our Deputy Chief of Staff, Pastor Chris, and this new director will be making up a trio that I think is going to be very formidable in terms of addressing that issue.
We have time for one more question.
Governor, police problems continue to mount in the city of Providence. Most recently, the family impacted by that riot, if you will, over on Sale Street, has accused the Providence Police of holding back on any resolution engaging charges on minors, any patrols. There's been threats of violence. There's been vandalism there. That's just one example. How is the integration, if you will, of the support from the Rhode Island State Police going? And do you have any feedback on that yet?
Well, I think that until I see boots on the ground, partnering in with the state police and the Providence police, I don't think we've done everything that we can possibly do from our level. We'll participate based on the way that we were invited in. I think it's a kind of a data recovery strategy right now that's being talked about. I think it falls pretty far short of what the offer was, but we'll continue to provide the support as we would to any community that asks our support in any area, including public safety.
All right, thank you all.
Hi. Thank you very much.
Like what the state
I've been, I haven't
You have to
been.
review
I've
that
been
and
there. Good to say hello.
So like,
Yeah.
I just, feedback. I was born in West today, tomorrow.
Oh, yeah?
Like, I don't know how long it takes you guys to.
Yeah.
Like 43 years.